Thomas Sandgaard, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to be, for the purpose of the viewers, talking to Mr. Sandgaard today about the corporation that he heads, Zynex. For those who don't know, would you give us just kind of an overview of what is it that your company does?
Appreciate you interviewing me today. We focus on therapy for management. We have products for rehabilitation. Our products are reimbursed by insurance companies here in the US, and that's literally where we generate our revenue stream. Our electrotherapy products are primarily used for pain management, and therefore with the rampant opioid crisis in this, there's a huge demand for non-addictive pain management. We have a sales force of approximately 450, per 100 sales reps, and still growing. And we've obviously 25 years creating not only an infrastructure, but also have been blessed with the market that has been developed over the 50 years, meaning pretty much all insurance companies pay for it, and with little to no competition. I believe that we are in a position where we have created a platform here where we can grow many times more than what we had. We are sit on NASDAQ and with the symbol ZYXI. Obviously have been in business for a long time and have a well-developed infrastructure.
I was just going to say, above my head, the viewers can see the stock symbol if they want to look it up at this moment. It's, last time I checked, just a couple of minutes before we started, you were trading at about $13.50, right in that range. You had a low in the last 52 weeks of $12.53 and a high of $22.89, just so the viewers who haven't checked your stock already can check. You referenced, and let me just bring up, your second quarter earnings just came out, I think it just, roughly in the beginning of August, I think it was. And you had said that you expect to have 550 sales reps by the end of the year. The addition of a net 50 sales reps compared to the beginning of this year compares to a net of over 300 that you added in 2020. So the bottom line is you've been adding a whole lot of sales reps over the recent time period, and that this is, I think, one of the reasons why we might expect the sales to go up. When you sell, and by the way, before we go, I will insert for the viewers here some videos that they can see some of the testimonials from those who have used your device, who have suffered pain. And one of the things I think is compelling about your product, when people are in real pain, it might be temporary pain, maybe after they had open heart surgery or something, or other people were in an accident and sadly suffer, pain that might be ongoing. When they have this device, it is this is just one brief kind of a picture where they can have some controls, and as I understand it, it sends an electronic charge into their body to, does it mask the pain level? Is that basically how this works?
Yes, Terry. Right after orthopedic surgery is a common application. Low back pain and a whole multitude of other pain and rehabilitation issues is what's being done. It's by prescription only. It's a very powerful device. It's prescription strength, which is very different from some of the over-the-counter devices on the market that we're not really competing with. But it sends an electrical signal. Let's say someone just had a knee surgery into the knee. So after about 10, 15 minutes, you have a significant reduction in pain. But not only that, you also increase the blood circulation.
Every single physician right now is looking for alternative to opiate therapy. And I do believe that there's no other or better alternative than using physical therapy and also using modalities like NextWave and the IFC model to be able to help the patient control their pain rather than going always to opioids. The Zynex NextWave unit at this time, I think would be best. Beside my passion of doing pain management, I have another passion, playing soccer. I injured my back on the field a few months ago, and I've tried multiple modalities. I've tried non-steroidal inflammatory drugs. I've tried to do physical therapy. The pain prevented me from finishing my physical therapy. Then I decided to go to the NextWave, hoping that that would be the answer. 2 days later, I was able to get rid of my pain and get back on the soccer field, enjoying the game that I love the most.
A lot of times pain is treated with medication, with opioids, and the problem that people have with opioids is it can lead to addiction, among other things. So this is one of the benefits, as I understand, of this product is because it is not a tablet that you're taking, you don't run the risk of opioid addiction that so often happens.
So when we treat pain with opioids, the issue is that 10 years down the road, you're still going to have your problem with the pain, and now you're going to be addicted to opioids.
He's amazing with patients. I love the way he works, and he ended up prescribing me the NextWave. The NextWave started working immediately. The first time I tried it, I felt better. My back actually relaxed.
What I found with the NextWave unit is it has an additional IFC setting, which is the only unit that I found that does that. My interactions with Zynex have been extremely easy. I contacted them, they sent me a form which I filled out 1 page. They took care of it all from there.
I'm able to do what I love. I'm working out more. I'm more active. I love it. I got my life back.
Yeah, you can either eliminate the use of opioids or significantly reduce it. And as I mentioned before, there are no side effects with using this technology, which is obviously huge these days.
One of the things I don't know, let's talk about the business model. First of all, if I were injured and in pain, am I correct that I have to go to a doctor and have this prescribed? I can't just go out and buy this myself, can I?
That's right. It takes a medical professional to prescribe this device. In some states, physical therapists can prescribe it, but for the most, it's MDs and DOs and physician assistants that are prescribing this.
And then
this device.
if I go to a doctor, talk about the revenue stream that your company gets. If I have this device, am I actually, through insurance, are we buying the device or are we basically renting it?
So you could say to some degree, healthcare is dictated by insurance companies in this country. So it all comes down to their policies as to whether they want us to bill them for purchase, so therefore the patient can keep it, or if it's month by month rental. We see the majority of insurance companies end up paying for it as monthly rentals, and in some cases eventually converts to a purchase, or the patient ends up returning the device to us when they're done treating. They obviously also dictate how many supplies the patient can have, typically on a monthly basis, which we then obviously supply. We have a significant amount of our revenue stream coming from the month supplies that go out to patients.
So we talked just a little bit ago about the fact that you've added a whole lot of salespeople, and there is a delay, because you got to, like any job, you got to, when you hire someone, you got to train them, and then when they go out in the field, it takes them a while to develop their market. They got to make cold calls. They got to explain the product. And so there is a lag between the time you hire them and that salesperson begins to produce the kind of revenue that you hope they do. Where are you, would you say, on that cycle? I looked at your 2019 sales, you had revenue of approximately 45 million and earnings of 9.49 million, let's call it 9.5. You went up in sales a year later to 2020. You went up to 80 million. So that's an increase, off the top of my head, of about 80% increase in sales, but your revenues remain flat. Is that because of the hiring so many
You mean
salespeople?
the earnings? Yeah, the earnings remain flat, and that's exactly what it is. When we add as many as 300 sales reps net last year, that obviously takes a huge toll because we pay a base salary plus commission to these sales reps. So it takes a huge toll on the bottom line. It's an investment that, as you can see, we're still very profitable. An investment that we believe will pay off long term. So this year we are more in the mode of having our sales reps become productive, and actually our business model have multiple delays in them. Obviously, the order ramp up first is just starting to kick in now as all these new reps becoming productive. After that, as the orders come in and those orders slowly start accumulate, then revenue is generated for several years after you get that order, because many insurance company wants to pay for it in monthly rentals. It helps their cash flow. It's rough for a company like us, but we are able to keep up with obviously because we have a fairly strong balance sheet. And then as those billings go out monthly or multiple years after we get that prescription, then the cash comes in subsequently. Oftentimes, when we bill insurance company, sometimes we see that we may have gotten paid for the first 2 months, then suddenly they only paid for the supplies and not the fourth month they may pay for the device and not the supplies. The fifth month they might not pay at all, and then we have to remind them. So they eventually catch up on that. So that provides a huge delay in the cash after we actually bill, and of course it doesn't really count until we see the cash. So there's a huge delay from when we hire a new sales rep to they actually become financially active and it shows on revenue and starts ticking in on the bank account. So our cash balance can continue to increase.
Let me, if I might, I'll share with the viewers here. This is from your second quarter earnings, where you say your second quarter revenue of 31 million was the highest quarterly revenue in the company's history and increased 61% from the same quarter of the previous year. And you said we continue to see good auto flows, the economy returns to normal, and second quarter orders came in 247% higher than Q2 of last year. So that's pretty impressive, and it would seem that you are now in that cycle where you're beginning to reap the benefits of that explosion in sales reps that you put into the field.
That's right. Orders have gone up dramatically, and obviously slowly that revenue will start catching up to it. The very high growth percentage for the year before that have been more in the just 100 plus percentage range growth. That was heavily impacted by in the second quarter of last year was impacted by COVID, but were the quarter of last year. Things came back on the normal trajectory in terms of order growth, but at the same time, revenue was just slowing down slowly. We still see a little bit of an impact of the slow amount of orders we had in the second quarter of last year on our revenue. So therefore, it looked very dramatic compared to the revenue increase, but still, we're still looking at ballpark 100% year-over-year order growth.
I don't want to put you on the spot. I'll tell for the viewers. When you're talking with your friends, when I'm talking with my friends, I can say, oh, I think they'll do this much in sales. When you're a CEO, you have to be very careful to be, accurate.
Right.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, but has the company published what they expect sales to be by the end of the year?
Yeah, we expect to be in around approximately, I don't remember the range right now, but approximately 135 million in revenue compared to 80 million
Which is
last year.
obviously tremendous
obviously
growth rate.
Yeah.
And why my friend in Europe who brought you to my attention was saying that he was so enthusiastic about your company and why he saw, and by the way, this is not just someone, it's someone who actually knows business. So when he's looking at a business, he knows what he's talking about. And he was saying he couldn't be more enthusiastic over yours. He said on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the most energetic, that you were a 1. He was sure that you were going to be one of the winning stocks. So I wanted to.
Yeah, and we also expect to see a significant increase in earnings compared to last year.
That's really, and this is, I've been blessed not to be in pain, but I know other people who have, and as we say, sometimes it's short term, sometimes, sadly, people are in pain for years. I believe, let me bring back again, just briefly here, we have this device and the person is adjusting it. I believe I'm correct that there are levels, degrees here that people can adjust the settings.
Yeah, you basically adjust it every time. Every time you turn it on, you set the intensity. You would typically use the same modality that you started using it at, and then you might use it for 4 minutes, sometimes a couple of hours. Someone that just had orthopedic surgery, for instance, they will typically use it nearly 24 hours for a couple of days straight, and then slowly back down to a couple of hours a day to really get rid of the pain, and the increased blood circulation would help reduce edema or swelling, and obviously basically increase the healing. Oftentimes you see someone that after, let's say, a knee surgery should expect to be able to get rid of the crutches and maybe get back to work after 6 or 8 weeks. We're talking just a couple of weeks when you add this and maybe cold therapy that we also offer.
Let me just say, but we'll not go too much longer here, but my understanding is that right now your focus is in building your market in North America, but you're
Right.
a European, you're running the corporation headquartered in Denver. So obviously, having grown up in Europe, you have a global perspective. You're not just, as so many times Americans, we might be focused merely on North America. So I presume, obviously, this would be applicable to people around the world. What do you see as the future for the company? What are your expectations of growth going forward?
One of the big limitations we have right now is after COVID is access to quality workforce. It's hard to add as many employees as we actually need. I would say we have nearly 100 open positions at Zynex right now. So we're trying to be very laser focused on where we direct our resources. So getting a total of 800 sales reps deployed in the United States and eventually making them productive is our first priority. After that, I believe adding more products as well as some international diversification would be helpful. We also have another division where I've invented some devices, blood volume monitoring for hospitals, also in the process of patenting sepsis, early sepsis detection. We're looking at several other things. So long term, as you mentioned, you'll see some diversification, but I want to make sure that we get a solid position in the U.S. market for pain management with about 8 sales reps. And long term, the average sales reps should be to produce a little over $1 million in annual revenue for us.
When you say that you're being held back, we hear this from other businesses too. It's hard to hire people. Are you predominantly looking for sales people, or are you also? I mean, maybe someone's watching this, and if they want to apply for the job, I guess they can go to your website and reach out to you. Is that right?
That's right. We're predominantly looking to add people at our corporate headquarters in Denver. We have slowed down sales rep growth to maybe not be much more than 10, a little over 10 net additions a month for us. That is obviously going to help on the profitability here short term compared to last year, as you mentioned, and eventually we would probably be a little over 3 years out before we have all 800 territories filled.
And that was going to be my next question. Right now, where is your footprint in North? Are you in Canada? Are you solely in the United States?
Solely in the United States. Over the years, we've had some sales to Canada, some sales to Western Europe, a little bit of sales in the Far East, etc. But right now, our focus is to really establish a strong position here in the U.S. first before we diversify a whole lot.
And I presume you're in the larger markets, I mean, in areas like New York and L.A. and those as you build out?
Right. Obviously, we are all over the country with 500 sales reps. You can only imagine we're in every major city and a lot of rural areas.
And by the same token, if there are some physicians who have not heard of your company as yet and what you offer, and they want to reach out and get some information, I guess, again, they could go to your website.
Right, yeah. That's probably the easiest way to get hold of us these days.
Great. Well, Mr. Sandgaard, we thank you so much for joining us. I should say that your earnings, you just came out, let's say your third quarter will be, your third quarter report will be out, I guess, in October, and then your fourth quarter in January. I believe that's your cycle.
Yeah, since the fourth quarter will be reported with the full year, that means it'll be towards the end of February.
Well, maybe we can come back and do this again in the future and get a follow-up. But we so appreciate your time here today with us. And again, people can check you out and go to your website. But we thank you for joining us today on Money in Politics Now.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. My pleasure.